Welcome to the Adventure Mechanics. I'm Chandler,
I'm Devin.
And I'm Tom.
and today we'll be talking about Myst, that classic game that some of us grew up with and some of us will be experiencing for the first time.
Yay!
I was like, are you guys actually going to talk?
I thought you were going to say that some of us love and some of us hate.
No, I got nothing after that.
Well, I'm coming into this thing mostly dark. My entire experience with Myst was it came with my mom's Dell when I was in like middle school, high school. But yeah, it came with the Dell, and I've tried to play it 2 or 3 times. Got through 2 or 3 of the photos that passes an interaction, and it was too boring for me at that age. So
Yeah, I can't say I'm much better. I never got past the Mist Island, like trying to play through again. I got maybe to a second island, and that was about it. Or second age, I think is what they call the other puzzle areas.
Yeah.
Their
I will
ages.
say, like, I've always felt like I should have played all the way through that because I always felt like there was going to be some kind of big reward for all this work and like an awesome storyline or something. So I'm really excited to hear how disappointed I should be.
You should be very disappointed. You're bad. You should feel bad.
Yeah, I second that.
Because I played this first in middle school as well. It was when they released it with Ribbon in like a package set. My dad got me that for my birthday. And I did beat it then. I had to use a guide because I'm not good at puzzles, but I just love this game a lot, despite its flaws, which there are some. And then I just played it recently. Since we were going to talk about it for the podcast, I was like, oh, I should play it again. And I've got some thoughts.
I do
But-
too, especially
wait.
about your streamed playthrough.
Oh boy.
I have some
Yeah.
I have some questions, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
So for those that don't know, Myst is a point-and-click adventure game released originally in 1993. This was created by a pair of brothers, Rand and Robin Miller. For those interested in what they look like, when you boot up Myst and open up either the blue book or the red book, yeah, those are the designers. So, fun side note. Yeah, so Rand and Robin were originally designers that did kids games. So they made pretty much the same style game as Myst, just aimed at a younger audience, where you do puzzles, solve something, and then that'd be the end of the game. They got kind of tired of it, and they had the publisher Broderbund or something like that.
Broderbund, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, well, why don't you aim this at adults? And they're like, oh, cool. So they asked for like an obscenely low amount of money for publishing Myst, right? It was like, oh yeah, we can make it with $260,000, which in 1993 was not a huge amount to work with. But here's the really crazy thing. Myst almost didn't happen because they almost ran out of money. They didn't think of asking their publisher, like, hey, could we get a little bit more to finish up all these little details? And no, they just absolutely just went, oh no, we can't ask for it. That was our budget, so we can't go over it. And those crazy bastards made a game out of that. So I got to give them mad props for that.
Amazing.
Right? Like no other communication about funds with the publisher. So yeah, mad
Wow.
props for that. So the inspiration for Myst, now this is what I kind of found interesting, was the brothers were huge into D&D and the stories that could be told through that system. And they were like, okay, well, we don't really care about fighting mechanics or leveling up or anything like that. We want to tell this story of mystery, hence Myst. So that was their core inspiration.
Simple to understand.
Right? Yeah, it's like totally cool. And in their GDQ talk, I think Rand, I want to say, I think it was Rand, the current CEO of Cyan Studios. He was like, oh yeah, we had no idea of any of the other like Sierra style games. It wasn't on our radar, which I thought was absolutely wacky considering how close they got to that
Wow.
formula almost.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had
Not
no
know
idea of it. Just wasn't the
That's-
games they played.
That's fascinating.
Right? So that's kind of a little bit of the background of Myst.
I don't know if you know this question, but it's something I've wondered ever since I was a kid. The graphics I remember being touted as some of like the most incredible graphics that anybody had ever seen at that point, but they were all static, obviously. Were those all computer, like made, or were they somewhat like of a painting, or like how does that? I remember this. The visuals were stunning.
Oh yeah, yeah. They actually started off wanting to do this as a hand-drawn game, so even more Sierra-like. But they realized, oh god, we have far too much artwork to make this viable. So they ended up with 3 servers that they would run for hours rendering the environments of Myst. Even though
Wow.
it's like designed
Wow.
on the HyperCard system, which is glorified PowerPoint at this point, they spent hours rendering every frame. And partially because of that, you can kind of feel how it ends up kind of seeming disjointed because they had so much time between rendering cycles. Just
Oh,
fun
okay.
little side note.
Wow.
As you can tell,
That
I got super interested on the background for this game.
Background is fascinating.
Right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I highly recommend Rand Miller's 2015 GDQ talk. It has a rather amusing little moment in it where the guy, Phil Fish, the guy that made Fez, is like, I played, what was the second one?
Riven.
Riven. And I played it without a cheat or a walkthrough or anything like that. It took me over a year. So my question is, can you sign my copy of Riven? And Rand is like a rock star of a developer. In the middle of this talk, he's just like, oh yeah, sure. Walks off the stage, goes and signs this copy, and then walks back up on stage. So yeah, mad props for that. That was a pretty awesome, like
Amazing.
relatable moment.
I feel like
Unfortunately,
if
it
you
was
can get
Phil
through this
Fish.
game without a guide, you deserve that kind of attention.
I don't know. Phil Fish already got his day in the sun. He kind of Icarus, so yes, that's a verb now,
It is. It's a really good verb.
right? Anyway,
Agreed.
that's just kind of a quick context for the background of Myst and how it was made.
I love it.
That's awesome.
It's really fascinating. I didn't know some of that. So that's really cool to know.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
almost didn't happen. And it's so like iconic now.
you're right. Yeah, and the really sad part is I became fascinated with that, and then I couldn't play the game because I just sat
Yeah.
down and I was like, "Oh, I can't do these puzzles. I don't
Oh,
have the
no.
attention span." I just kept
Oh.
bouncing off of it.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh, well, when we get to puzzles, I mean, yeah.
yeah. There's gonna be some
Puzzles.
stories. There's
Yeah.
definitely gonna be some stories.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us about the kind of the story?
Sure.
Since we're-
Okay, so I wrote out a little thing, much like I did for the last one. Because this story isn't like linear, it's not like you play through a story, it's a story that you kind of discover. I kind of tried to put this together in a way, like, especially for Tom, since you're coming in basically cold, that hopefully it will make some sort of sense, because the protagonist of the game is you, the player. Like, in no uncertain term, you are the player protagonist, as it were. So,
Yeah. So
Right.
consequently, I'm just a disembodied hand carrying a sheet of paper.
yeah, just carrying a sheet of paper, waving it in front of your face, turning knobs. So the game begins with a narration over a scene of a man falling through a tear in the sky, a book tumbling after him. I realized the moment I fell into the fissure that the book would not be destroyed as I had planned, the narrator says. It continued falling into that starry expanse of which I only had a fleeting glimpse. I have tried to speculate where it might have landed, but I must admit, however, such conjecture is futile. Still, the question of whose hands might someday hold my Myst book are unsettling to me. I know that my apprehensions might never be allayed, and so I close, realizing that perhaps the ending has not yet been written. The book lands and comes into your possession. When opened, it shows a moving image of a strange island, and when touched, the book brings you into the world of that island. You, the protagonist, find yourself on the empty, strange world full of odd monuments and cryptic devices. You're trapped for all intents and purposes, with no real idea how you came here and no way to return home. As you explore and read, you find clues to solving the mystery of the island of Myst. A man named Atris, left a letter for his wife Catherine and a recorded message in a device by the docks. He tells Catherine he must leave, that something terrible has happened. The books in his library have been burned, and he suspects that their sons are behind it, or behind something terrible that's happened.
Oh, they absolutely are too.
Oh boy.
They are psychos.
They're
Yeah.
yeah.
And you kind of get a
in-
feel for them as you play.
Yes. In the library, you find the burned books mentioned and some books still legible, as well as cryptic linking books, one blue and one red. Each book seems to hold someone prisoner inside, but the image is distorted and the audio is choppy and hard to understand. As you make your investigation of the island and the books that remain, you find clues to open the monuments on Myst, which lead to new linking books, or ages, as Atris calls them in his journal. But all is not well in these ages. Something has gone terribly wrong. Where they were once populated, now they're ruined and abandoned. In each age is a blue and red page, which, when brought back to the corresponding books in the library, makes the images of those trapped inside clearer. As the image is clear, you learn the two are brothers, one named Cirrus, the other Akinar, red and blue respectively. They each claim to have been trapped in these books by their father, though they each also claim that they have been imprisoned wrongly. With each page you bring, you gain more information. They each blame the other of corruption and evil. In each age you find rooms that belong to the brothers, blue and red respectively in theme, and you discover that Cirrus had lavish tastes, his rooms lovely and ordered, but with knives concealed in drawers, treasures hidden away. Akinar relished outright displays of macabre and violence, with shelves of poisons, frightening masks, and decorations made of bones.
And corpses in boxes.
And corpses in boxes.
Dun, dun, dun.
and a terrible electrocution cage. And
I feel like it's a little too late for this, but yeah, we're gonna be doing spoilers.
oh my god, we forgot the spoiler warning. Well, oops.
Yeah, if you're hitting here, yeah, you have a few more ages, but yeah.
And there may also be some minor spoilers for Riven as well. So if you want to avoid any kind of spoilers at all, yeah,
now's the time to go play them. Or you can watch the game done in like 51 seconds.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea why people are speedrunning this, but yeah, I'll talk about that later. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject.
You can no, I'm genuinely curious now. You can finish this game in 51 seconds?
Yep.
You
could finish this game in under 50 seconds. Yep.
I don't think you get the good ending, but
well, yeah, you can get the good ending.
I don't know where the last page is, but anyway, we should probably finish
I'll get
the
there.
story.
Don't worry, you just have to listen to the rest of the story.
Okay. That's like very informative, though. Like, so basically, what you're telling me is that literally 99.9% of playing this game is staring at a screen, going, And if you know the answer to all of them, if it only takes less than a minute, wow. Okay. Anyway, sorry. That's very fascinating.
Oh, don't worry. I'll
on.
Explain how you can get to the good ending in less than like a minute. But yeah, I shall continue.
Sorry for the introduction.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, like we're almost there. Like this is most of the way through the game, basically. So once you have collected all the red and blue pages lost in the Ages of Myst, and you've brought them back to the brothers beg you to bring them the final page for each of their respective books. At the same time telling you, don't help my brother, he's horrible, and that these final pages are hidden behind the Myst Library fireplace. They tell you not to touch the green book found there, saying it's a clever trap left by their father to imprison whoever touches it. The green book behind the fireplace is another linking book, but not a trap per se, as the brothers had told you. Atris greets you when you open the book and explains that his sons had burned his library and taken over the Ages of Myst. They have trapped him in Dunny, or Dunny, as it's pronounced in the game, where the green book leads, by taking a page from his Myst linking book so that he could not return. If you've explored well throughout the Ages of Myst, you will have discovered a ripped note that tells of a hiding place in the marker switches on Myst, which opens to reveal a white page. When you bring the white page to Atris in Dunny, he repairs his book and returns to Myst to take care of things. Upon his return, he tells you that his sons shouldn't cause any more trouble. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a way to help you get home, as he's working on a book in which his wife Catherine is trapped, and he has pitted himself against a much greater foe than either Cirrus or Akinar. He invites you to explore Myst at your leisure, and says he might in future have some task for you. At this point, it's worth noting that this is the good ending of the game. There are 3 other endings. So the good ending is you bring the white page that's in the marker switch, and this is how you could speedrun the game in less than a minute. You just flip all the marker switches and then just open up the secret panel and then take the thing into the fireplace, and then you win the game. So that's how you do it. So
got it.
So that's
there's a lot more content than what you can do in
there's
50
way
some
more
odd
content
seconds.
than it takes to beat the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good.
So that's the good ending. However, you can choose to bring either the red or blue page to Cirrus or Akinar, at which point, no matter what you do with either of these brothers, the ending is the same. You take their place in the book, they are freed, and then they rip out all of the pages and trap you in darkness forever.
Mm.
The last ending, which is a great ending, and I love that you can get this ending, is you can go to Dunny, to Atris without having gotten the last white page for the Myst linking book, which traps you forever in this other world. When you arrive, Atris asks for the page, and when you don't have it, has a burst of anger over your foolishness, and then welcomes you to Dunny, where you and he will be trapped forever.
It's
Oh
pretty
God.
fucking funny.
And it's hilarious.
That's one I would highly recommend after you've played the game. Just be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
You'll get a good laugh.
That's
out of it.
amazing. So basically, yeah, he's just like, oh my God, you've screwed both of us. Well, at least I.
Yeah, it's like, you fucked us both. Well, fine. I guess you're just gonna have to stay here. Welcome to this ruined city.
Oh
Yep.
man.
And oh my God, is it ruined?
It's pretty bad.
The first kind of thought that I have is this is a story-based game, right? It's mystery, solve the mysteries, all the puzzles, kind of make an adult level choice of, do I help one of the brothers that's greedy or the masochist, or do I trust neither of them and talk to the dude in the green book? Which, for all you know, first playthrough, it's just a trap.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the main gist of it. Why would you speedrun this? Doesn't that seem to cut the idea of the game and kind of miss the point?
Well, I mean,
Oh, certainly.
I feel like I should point out that with any speedrun, you're cutting out the content of the game, especially a lot of story-driven games. You can speedrun the Elder Scrolls game, for example, or Fallout, or, pick a game. So I feel like that's not maybe the right question to ask. Why would you speedrun this when you're missing the story? Because speedrunners always play speedrun games that skip the story.
Yeah, I kind of get, gotta go fast scenic, but it doesn't really lend itself to speedrunning.
I mean, sure it does, because
if you can do it in 50 seconds.
Well, you have to be able to move. You have to be able to get to all the marker switches and flip them as quickly as possible. And one of the marker switches is across the water that you have to open the clock. So you have to be able to enter in the code to be able to get there, and then get back, get the page, and then you have to enter in the puzzle thing in the back of the fireplace, and that takes time. So it's more of a skill-based being able to click in as quickly as possible, but correctly.
Okay, yeah, I can partially see that, but I guess I just don't really get the I can see the precision clicking, but I don't know.
What you're saying is, this seems like a very boring game to speedrun.
Well,
There's not a lot of reward to it. You don't have there's not a lot of skill involved. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Well, there's not a compelling speedrun to me.
No, I get it.
There's certain speedruns that are going to be absolutely boring as hell. And if you're speedrunning for nostalgia, that's fine. I could totally get that with Myst. It wasn't one that I personally could do as a kid. So, yeah, I kind of just bounced off of it. But if it's for nostalgia's sake, I can totally get down with that. But, as a person who never really got into Myst and doesn't really know or care about the lore, it's kind of like, I don't really see the point of it.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
Not to bash on those that do speedruns of this, but it's just more of a open question from me more than anything. Not to like sidetrack you or anything, Devin.
No, I'm good. I was just thinking, like, I guess I'm just like on the opposite side of the spectrum there because I mean, there are lots of speed runs that are like a minute or less than 5 minutes that you just basically skip the whole game and just get to the end. And the skill to do that is, it just depends on the game. So I guess I'm sort of like, I mean, I think it's fine.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it would be an interesting challenge to speed, like do 100%, all red and blue pages, and then the white page ending. You'd have to go through the whole game in that case.
yeah, and that's somewhat more
Quicker.
compelling.
That would be maybe to your criteria, that would be a more interesting run than any percent.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what I ended up watching to kind of get some more context on this game was a full 100% speed run of it.
Hmm.
So I didn't really read any of the lore. And yes, there are interesting situations, and pathfinding could be a compelling reason to watch it. But in all
Sure.
honesty, the speed run of the 100% was like, oh, okay, now I kind of get the game.
You do get to see basically the whole game.
Oh, yeah.
I should have done that without any context. Know nothing about the background and just watch the speed run. And then I think that would confuse me more than it would be helpful, but
Yeah.
I regret not doing it.
Yeah, well, maybe next game.
There you go.
So that was kind of like my first thought. After watching you do a let's play of Myst,
Mhm.
you had a couple people come in and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're Myst speedrunners." I was like, "Oh, well, that's an interesting choice," and I just kind of
True.
wanted to vocalize my confusion on that.
Hmm.
I'm not
Well, I
doing
mean,
any
I
judgment.
guess,
It's just confusion.
yeah. Well, I guess the question would be better put to the speedrunners than why they do it or what's
Yeah.
compelling about it.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't speedrun it, so I don't think I could answer that question.
you got it done in like an hour, which is fucking impressive.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd also
That is
played
impressive.
it before. Like, I mean, much like a speedrun, like I knew what the answers for the puzzles were, and I had written down the answers to some of the stuff so I could get through it faster.
That's true.
For the sake of the stream, which was basically I just want to show the game, and I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to play it to talk on the podcast about it. So I
Oh,
thought, well,
I
this might be
appreciate that.
easy, so you could see the game, and I can share some of my thoughts with it and stuff like that. So,
No, I absolutely
yeah.
appreciate you doing that because no, I honestly really did sit down and try and play this game, and I just couldn't find myself in a mental state to actually get through the puzzles.
Yeah.
Because on most of these games, I try and sit in and do a cold playthrough before looking anything up or anything like that. But Myst is one of those games which does the player no favors and is like, okay, you're in our world now, brah. You gotta work in our rules, and I respect it for that. But I just don't have the focus as of late to do that.
Sure.
So that kind of makes it harder.
One of the things, like, and this is kind of where I'm like, as far as like, between gameplay and story, is like, I love the lore. I like the story a lot. I like the world that they built. I even like how the puzzles are part of the world. Like, that's a thing. It's not just like, well, here's an arbitrary puzzle. The puzzles all like have reasons to be there.
Yeah,
And they also, like, gameplay wise, signal stuff to the player about what kind of puzzles or what you should be doing, how you solve these puzzles. But like, there are things that feel odd or antiquated, and it's kind of an interesting tension for me. I think in the stream I mentioned this, where to get into the spaceship, to the rocket ship, you have to power it up. But if you don't do the puzzle correctly, everything shuts down and you have to reset the breakers. And there are two breakers that you have to find and climb up, reset the switch, and then go back and try powering up the spaceship again. And as a gameplay thing, that feels frustrating. Especially, I should like preface, as somebody who's really bad at puzzles. I'm very, very bad at them. I like them, but I'm bad at them. So for someone like me who's like, I like this puzzle, but I'm really bad at solving them, it feels like busy work and it just doesn't feel very good. So like the playthrough I did before I streamed it, where I was figuring stuff out, I was like, oh my God, why is it like this? I ended up brute forcing the rocket ship, just like clicking randomly, but I had to go back and reset the breakers so many times, but I just didn't want to go find a guide. I was like, no, I will not be defeated. I will just push the button. But that said, on a narrative level, on like a diegetic level, that's how it would, like, it makes a logical sense that yeah, you're trying to turn on this power thing, you overloaded the circuits, you have to go reset them, and this setup makes sense for the world that's being built. So of course you'd go out, reset the breakers, go back. And so it's like at the same time I'm like, ugh, this is really annoying from like purely gameplay. It's like, oh, but I mean, this makes sense. It doesn't feel like it's intended as busy work for the player. It's not like, you know, puzzles or setups in other games that you're just like, what the hell is this for? Why can't I just run through the level? Why would you put the Valve puzzle in Vampire the Masquerade Redemption that I streamed yesterday, for example? Why is this here? There are no puzzles anywhere else. Why would you do that? This is dumb. It just feels like busy work, and it's just stopping the main gameplay loop, and I don't like it.
Why is most of New York in the sewer?
Why? I come to New York and I have to be in the damn sewers. Like, what's that about?
I can tell you exactly why. It's because someone along the line went, hey, puzzle games are kind of popular. We've decided that your game needs to have a puzzle. And the developers are like, well, shit.
It's entirely possible that's what happened.
It's
almost always someone up at the top just screwing it over. That's like always the case.
Or like, oh, we only have like 15 hours of gameplay. We need 20.
Oh yeah,
right.
That I actually would
pad this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think both are equally valid, but I think that, yeah, Chandler, you're probably right. Like, that one's more often.
That's still going to come from the top, though. That's still going to come from the top saying, hey, you need 20 hours of gameplay, no less.
Yeah.
That, or they're going to be like, we're going to make this game on this tiny budget, but it needs to be at least X number of hours. And then the developer's like, well, that's not going to happen. And it needs to
have these 5 features, all of them, and never saw the twain meet. And you're just like, how do I...
It must have a puzzle. I don't care if it's a first-person shooter. It has to have a puzzle.
It has to have a puzzle.
God. No more physics puzzles.
We have to utilize the squad. Make the squad open the door while the protagonist waits.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I can open the door. Nope.
Private, you are not high enough rank to open this door.
You're in my way, sir.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but anyway, but with the puzzles, like it's like an interesting, and this is one of the reasons I like the game, where it does have that odd tension where it's like, I'm really frustrated by this, but this makes sense. Like clearly, you know, if I just could solve puzzles better, this wouldn't be as terrible. Except for frickin' sound puzzle hell.
Yes.
Which is to say, the Selenetic Age. Why?
So
that tram puzzle is the worst thing ever. I do not like it.
Even the developers say that's a bad puzzle. That's they in the GDQ 2015, developers just like, oh yeah, that was our worst puzzle. We tried to road sign it, but it just didn't work. And
it does well, and like here's the thing: like you can get so screwed over if you haven't done the Mechanical Age, which has the sound cues for the different directions. But here's the other thing: like here's where I got screwed up, because this time I did have to look up a guide because I got lost. I couldn't figure out what the hell this puzzle was having me do. I thought that the sound was indicating where you were located, not where you were supposed to go.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not sure why I thought that. Like, I cannot tell you what my logic for that was, but that's what I thought. And I labored in that stupid thing for about 30 minutes before I went, you know, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. And mostly Walking Day 9 TV's adventure game show on Twitch, they had played Myst a while ago. And I couldn't remember how they solved the puzzle because I was trying to think, because they struggled with it too, like a lot. Like they were stuck in there for hours, if I remember correctly, like a long time. And I was like, well, how did they solve the puzzle? But I couldn't remember, so I still had to look it up. And then when I looked it up, and it's like, oh yeah, the sound indicates where you're supposed to go. And I was like, Oh,
You gotta be kidding
because
me.
right, because I remembered the sounds from the mechanical age as being like, north, south, east, and west. But I was like, okay, so I'm in the north, but what am I supposed to do now that I'm in the north? Whereas it's actually telling you, okay, go north.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's a little bit different.
yeah. So
A
I
little
was
bit.
like, I was just so frustrated with that puzzle. Like the rest of that place being sound puzzle hell. It's like, okay, this is kind of but it's fine. I could deal
Right.
with it. But that one is just. I'd say that's probably the worst puzzle game, in my opinion.
I would
You're
be
my
inclined to agree.
because all the other puzzles are like not nearly as frustrating. Like the Stone Ship Age, where you have to like select the correct dot on the wheel to like turn on the power in the ship. That was frustrating for me, but that's just because I'm not bad at geometry.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm bad at geometry. I just was like having trouble thinking of how to solve the puzzle. I knew it had to do with like 360 degrees, and the lighthouse is at 135 degrees. How does that translate to these dots around the wheel? I know I'm supposed to click the right one, but how do I figure that out? And it's
uh
simple math. Like
the,
once you figure that out, it's so simple. But
yeah, it's 90s clickbait. Click like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Sorry, that was a really lame joke. I tried.
yeah, that one was not your best work.
Yeah, well. It was worth a shot.
It was worth a try.
Yeah. I suck at plugs. Anyway, Myst is interesting because it quite literally never holds your hands, even when they try and signpost. Like,
Yeah.
if you did go to that sound puzzle hell before you've decided to aim the cameras at the sounds, it's gonna be a bad time.
Yep.
And there's no apologies for the game being like that.
Yep. It's like you just got to figure this out. And like I said, like the way it works with the story, that you're like thrown into these places and you have no idea, and you're not even from the culture that built this. Ultimately, it's like I just like that feeling of like this is completely alien. Like this is a thing that like the Dig tries to do, and that's like a different kind of narrative point and click game. But like it tries to do this where your protagonists are on an alien world, everything's a priori. You can't interpret stuff, but you can't actually do a game like that and have the players still be able to play the game and figure out what the game is asking them. So you get kind of these weird things that are like, I get what you're trying to do, but it's still a little odd because you have to make it in a way I understand. Whereas Myst is like, nope,
Yeah,
you're on this world. It's weird. You have no idea how you got here. You can't leave. What are you going to do?
and there's this
Try
dude
to
that
figure it
wrote
out, I guess.
books.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like there are these two really untrustworthy people that are telling you different things, and it's weird.
I actually really enjoyed that part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, oh yeah, neither one of these guys is really trustworthy. You're gonna have to be careful, and that was actually really fascinating to me, because it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, who do I trust? I feel like I should trust Blue more, but he's obviously psychotic, and yeah, no,
Yeah, it's like Red seems like the more stable, but he's just kind of creepy, and I don't know, like,
I I can't really tell from the first video, but I feel like he has evil universe beard.
yeah,
Pretty sure he has
Mirrorverse beard.
Yeah.
He's got the Mirrorverse goatee.
Yeah, if it definitely looks like he has that in the first video.
Yeah, he really does.
That's kind of the funny point of watching those. Like the voice acting in it is surprisingly top notch, especially for just developers.
Was the voice acting the people that programmed it, or did they actually bring in other people?
No, it was just the
No, it's just them.
developers.
It's the two brothers.
Wow.
Yeah, Rand and Robin. They played all the characters. Rand plays Akinar and Atris, and Robin plays Cirrus.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and Robin does the audio as well,
Mm-hmm.
which
So the entire game, two people. Am I correct?
no, there were more people.
No, they had
involved.
other people doing stuff, but they did like the voice, the video, the music.
Wow.
Yeah, they did a lot.
They did a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, their budget was stupid small, and they weren't going to ask for more.
And they weren't gonna ask
Yeah.
for more.
They didn't even think that was a thing, but it ended
You've
up.
got to make a game on $160,000.
Right? And it becomes like the best selling game until The Sims came out in '02. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, really.
It held that record for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow. That's almost a decade.
Yeah, and it's so beloved, and it just had the 25th anniversary, right? And now when they did that, they were able to release all of the games on like Steam and GOG, where now so many other people can play it, because before, like, you couldn't really do that. It was janky, or you had to have, like, for the other games, you had to have your discs still, and of course, try running old discs on modern computers, right?
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it doesn't usually end
So
well.
like, yeah, so like now it's reaching a wider audience again because it's now accessible, and like people who loved it are like getting back into it, and it's really easy to see like why it was so kind of beloved and sold so well. Sold so well.
Sold so well.
I
that
English
sold,
good.
though.
I have a graduate degree in English. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yes, I'm glad you can tell.
Me speak good. Yeah, I kind of feel like Myst was surprisingly more geared to like doing a puzzle with a friend.
Yeah?
If that kind of makes sense. Like,
Explain.
you know
Like,
how.
so you'd say playing with someone, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, I don't know about you guys, but like around Christmas time, my family just pulls out a giant jigsaw puzzle and kind of just puts it on the table for people to kind of
Yeah.
poke at, and eventually it gets solved. I feel like
Yeah.
Myst was uniquely set up for something like that, where you could have your kid come in and be like, oh, is this what the puzzle is about? What about this?
Yeah.
I mean, it has its macabre moments, but it's not like anything worse than they would see on TV, really.
Yeah, it's really kind of tame. It's kind of like, yeah, like there's some weird visuals, but they're nothing super awful.
Yeah, it's not like, for lack of a better word, like Hunted or whatever,
Yeah.
where you're
It's
just
not Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
yeah. There's not a whole lot of horror elements in it. It has some, because you know one of the brothers is like absolutely obsessed with the macabre, but
Yeah, he's like got bone like lamps and like poison everywhere, and yeah, the electrocuty cage, and you're just like, mm-mm.
yeah, there's like,
He seems trustworthy.
but it's at the same time, it's like you don't even really know it's a corpse in the box.
Yeah.
Which honestly, now that I think about it, I feel like 7 kind of, yeah. There could be a reference there, but I'm pretty sure 7 came out after Myst.
I'm pretty sure it came out after Myst.
Yeah, because I really wanted to yell, "What's in the box?" 95. So yeah, 2 years after
Yeah.
this.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? It's not Crocs. That's the spoiler. It's not Crocs in the box.
No.
But yeah, it's a very atmospheric game, and if you're a lore hound like Devin, it is
Yeah.
gonna absolutely be up your alley, because there are a lot of lore things in the library,
Yeah.
and
And you're gonna have so many questions about why somebody would build devices like this. Like, why is this a thing? Why?
why is the rocket ship powered by music?
Yeah, why is
Really?
Yes.
why would you build an entire thing based around sound? Why would you do that?
And what kind of sick bastard hides the book that you need to get off the island in the library under a pedestal? Yeah.
Why are we here? What is this place? What is this dunny that, you know, Atris is trapped in? Like, what is this?
Why did they say Dunny? Why isn't it
Why do
just
they say
Denis?
dunny when it's spelled like Denis, which is
Yeah.
how I've said it forever, even
Yeah.
though it's very clear in the game said dunny.
Yeah, it's
And you notice I flip back and forth. I say it both ways.
yeah, it's really confusing, because in the books it's like D''Ni, like that's
Yep.
Denis or Denai,
Yeah, Denis.
something
Denis,
like that. But
yeah.
no, it's Dunny.
Dunny is how they pronounce it.
I don't know where the
Interesting.
comes from.
I'm not sure either. Denis. I don't know. Maybe that's explained in another game.
That's
Because there are many.
yes, and you know the really interesting thing. Sorry, I'm gonna go back into the history of this
Oh,
company, because
please
like
do.
I am fucking
Yeah.
fascinated by it. They are still around.
Hmm?
They're still producing a game. I think as of recording, they're probably publishing Obsidian or something like that, which is a reimagining of Myst.
They came out a couple years ago with a game called Abduction.
Ah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a different thing, but same sort of like Myst style. You go into you're in this place and you solve the puzzles and do
Yeah.
the story and stuff. And apparently it's quite good, according to people who also like Myst. I have not played it. I cannot speak to that. But yeah, they came out with that a couple years ago, and they actually are publishing other games as well, like that they don't develop. They're doing that as well as they're publishing. And they can't there were a couple that I think they published. One was called Zed. Came out just this year. That's Cyan Worlds published. And then there's another one that they kickstarted called Firmament. That seems correct.
Yeah, it looks like they don't have a release year for that, but
yeah, I want to say it was just kickstarted earlier this year.
Yeah,
I was gonna back it, but I didn't have money at the time.
They launched the Kickstarter March 26, 2019, and it was successful. So they're probably still developing it.
Yep. Yeah, but they're still around, still making stuff. And
yeah, any game company that lasts from 1987 to now. Oh, good God.
That's impressive.
32 years.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this game development company is quite literally as old as I am, for context.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most game design houses don't last that long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, props to Cyan Worlds for being around for so long.
Yeah,
that's
and still making
feat.
stuff. Yeah,
and still being like a fairly small developer by the sounds of it too, because like most of the time you either become huge or you die. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty rare to like just follow the middle line all the way through.
Yeah,
in the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. I mean,
yeah, exactly. You either become EA or you go away.
Or you get bought by EA and then liquidated.
Which is much more likely.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Bullfrog.
Yeah.
Oh, though, speaking of what a Myst nerd I am, when they did the Kickstarter for the 25th anniversary of Myst, they had all these really cool goodies, and I backed at the tier where I could get the really cool Myst linking book that you open it up and it plays the Myst Island flyby.
Oh, that's cool.
God.
And I got the inkwell and pen from Riven.
That's really solid.
I have to like brag a little because it's really, really cool, but also full disclosure, that's the kind of nerd that I am about this game.
Yeah, like if you haven't noticed, Devin's huge into this game. If you've listened to any of our previous podcasts, I can almost guarantee that she talked about it.
I think it come up every single time. Like,
Yeah.
that and the dig, and like I just mentioned these things. I'm like, oh my God, I just stopped talking about the same stuff, but I like it. It does things that are good.
Right? These are inevitably going to be our reference points. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't played Myst and you've gone this far into our podcast, do yourself a favor and at least do it with a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Like, it's worth experiencing if you have the patience to sit down and play it. And if you have the patience to get somebody else to sit down and play it with you and you're into puzzles, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
This is coming from the guy that, like, oh, I can't do puzzles and I don't have the patience for it. So, yeah. Like, even me being a Philistine about puzzles is like, oh, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to check it out. Maybe as an adult, I'll find it a lot more compelling than I did in middle school years.
Middle-aged years.
In middle-aged years, going back.
Well, you know, yeah. I'm actually a Benjamin Button. So.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Oh man.
Yeah. Myst is rightfully called a classic, I would say.
Yeah.
So here's a question.
Shoot.
Do you think that Myst could be adapted to be a cell phone game? Because I feel like it would be a pretty good candidate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have some words for you. It's called Real Myst for iOS, released in 2012.
Oh my God. But only on iOS, so.
Yeah, well, if you don't like that, you can also do, let's see here, Bug Chucker for Android in 2011.
What?
I have no idea. I have zero other context for that, but apparently they released a game called Bug Chucker.
It looks like Real Myst and Riven are available in the Google Play Store.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if you're into some mobile puzzling, that's
so if you want to
play
play those games on mobile. It looks like they exist.
That's awesome. I was gonna say, because I was thinking about it while we've been talking. I feel like with as simple as the mechanics are, it'd be a perfect candidate for that. So that's good to know that I'm not the only one that had that thought.
Oh yeah.
So.
Somebody else thought the same thing.
And thankfully, that somebody else was the publisher.
Oh,
Or the
really?
developer.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Yeah, they self-published it, so
That's genuinely a good thing. So I'm gonna have to check that out. Maybe that's how I'll be able to play it. Because honestly, like, I don't know if I would sit down and play it, but it might be the kind of game that I might just kind of dink around with while
I think it would
waiting for
work
something.
really well for that. Yeah, if you're just like, sitting around like waiting on an appointment or something, like just dicking around with it a little bit and closing it and coming back to it later. I think it would like work perfectly for that.
yeah, it doesn't have a deep enough story to be like, oh man, I don't remember what I was doing before, but I'm gonna have to start all over again. Yeah, it doesn't have that.
Right.
Now, that being said, you probably will want to make notes, but you can still do that on the phone too, so
Yeah.
it's not like a deal breaker that you need to make notes. But yeah, that's an interesting experience. I didn't consider it being a mobile, but yeah, that is it.
Yeah, sure enough. What's really interesting to me is that Real Myst gets an excellent rating. It's got like 4.1 out of 5, and it's $7. And Riven gets a 3.3 and is $4.
What?
Oof. Why is it so low?
I don't know. Genuinely curious. Okay, so I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this on this podcast, but would you say that Riven is better or worse than the original Myst?
Yeah, how does it stack up to the rest of the series?
I can only speak for myself, but I liked Riven better.
Interesting.
I
well,
think
apparently you're wrong.
They
At
really,
least according to Google Play Store.
Yeah, exactly.
according to these Philistines from the future.
Yeah.
I mean,
playing on their little pocket computers, where I had to play on a big CRT monitor with a big, tower that was like,
and had a lower resolution.
The whole time.
Yeah.
But in seriousness, I thought that Riven was probably better. I liked it better, but I think that's because they took the ideas and iterated on them and did better. Like, they did better puzzles, and of course it looks better, but the story is also much more strong and much more present. And it's also a story, like the type of story that it is. Like, what you're doing in Riven and like who you're coming up against and what you're trying to do is like my jam. Like, that whole kind of story is really neat, and there's a little bit more of it than just puzzles. So that's my opinion. I still really like Myst, but I think Riven. I think I liked Riven better. And full disclosure, I only started Myst 3 back in the day and wasn't able to finish it. And I've not played 4 or 5. So as far as the rest of the series, or Uru. So as far as the rest of the series is concerned, I cannot speak to that. But for the 2 I have played.
That's fair. Like, they did publish a lot in the Myst universe, so there are options. And apparently they still have an MMO server up.
Apparently there's still a legacy server for Uru, which is, I didn't even know that was a thing that they still had running. But
that's
the more you know.
Yeah, it's like competing for RuneScape that's still around.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to be a thing.
What do you mean?
I think I understand why these are different ratings now. So Myst, they adapted for the Android and made it so that it's actually a 3D game that you can explore.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can move around in a 360-degree view instead of having like almost like the pictures that you got on the original experience.
Glorified PowerPoint, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Riven is the old school way, where Myst is like totally revamped.
Oh, I don't think they went back and redid Riven. Like, they did go back and do Myst 3D, like the real Myst with 3D rendering, but I don't think they ever did that with Riven. It's just how Riven is.
Huh.
I could see that.
Okay.
I can see that being a problem for people, though.
Yeah.
I can see that. I think they're wrong, but...
You're wrong, you Philistines! Get good at Riven.
Lots of people say the opposite, so therefore you're wrong. I don't know how to tell you this any other way, but it's just those are the rules.
I
Oof,
guess I'm
them's the
used to
rules.
that, so I'll
That's
just go
right.
sit in my corner.
You're gonna be like, nah, screw you. I'm gonna go play Riven on my cell phone on Twitch just to be a badass.
Oh God.
Sounds
That-
like a terrible idea.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That sounds like bad news for everybody because you're just sitting there like looking
Yeah.
at your phone the entire time. And as much
Yeah.
fun as it is to play on your phone, I don't think I would want to spend a whole play session watching somebody watch like over their shoulder.
Right.
So it doesn't seem like a
Right.
good experience.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've pretty much drained our topic on Myst. What would you guys say?
I covered everything that I wanted to talk about, I think.
I didn't talk much. I'm mostly just listening and being interested. So there
Right.
you go. I was
that
super good at podcasting today. This was so glad you had me here.
You're one of the hosts, dude.
That's what I'm saying, like
So glad you had me. It's not like I actually do this with you guys on a regular basis or anything.
well, I mean, what I'm saying is like today I am audience, I'm just sitting here listening. I am such a good host that all I did is sit here silently. I
So
wanted
you're
our
like
audience
the audience
to know.
proxy, right? Like
Yeah.
you're like the proxy for the audience where like, they could put themselves in your shoes being like
Exactly. They can listen to my silence and know how to listen to you guys. They can use me as an example. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how that works.
Yeah, it seems legit. But yeah, any closing thoughts on Myst? I honestly just have vague memories of Myst. Like
That's all I have.
yeah, like you probably put it in your parents' computer, played it for like maybe an hour, got frustrated, and went and played with Legos or something. At least that was my experience.
I
I was
mean,
about to say, were you like watching? Did you have a video camera? That's pretty much exactly how that went down. So
I had my own computer in my room
Ooh.
that I played game on, and I liked it, even though I often was like super frustrated and closed the game and went and did something else, like read a book.
You're like, screw it, this game's stupid.
Like, oh, this game is so frustrating. I don't know how to solve the puzzle. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna read books. And then I'd come back a few hours later and be like, okay, I think I know how to solve this puzzle.
I mean,
That's awesome.
that's literally what how the game was designed. I feel like you were really just the best case scenario. You could do a lot
Yeah.
worse.
I will say though that as like okay, so Myst came out in '93, so I would have been 5. It doesn't do much for a 5-year-old, and then by the time I was even aware of how to play such a thing, I think I would have probably been Gateway 2000. I'm
That would be
guessing that
late
was around
90s.
2. Yeah, late 90s. So like I don't know, 10, 12, depending on what.
90s.
Yeah, I would have been like 10 or 12, something like that.
Yeah.
And Myst doesn't, at least for me, it did not hold the attention of a 10 or 12-year-old version of me.
Yeah. No. I was huge into other things at that point.
Oh yeah, I had been introduced to video games, but they were a much different genre.
Right? Yeah. It wasn't thinking puzzles?
No.
No.
Yeah, they were all fast-paced things that, for someone who doesn't have any attention span, which, hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Yeah. Who knows how I actually got into playing long ass board games, but yeah.
Yeah, how did that happen?
No idea.
We all became boring adults. That's what happened.
Oh no.
Adulting, it's a thing and it's a pain.
Yeah.
But
we developed that thing called patience. Ugh.
ugh, yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, okay. Well, I think this is pretty much a good time to sign off. What do you guys say?
Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we are the Adventure Mechanics. I'm Chandler.
I'm Devin.
And I'm Tom.
We will talk to you next time with another game that we will probably get through. At least one of us will, anyway.
Somebody will.
Yep.
Don't know who it is. Who will it be next week that actually finishes the game?
We'll draw
And-
straws.
I'll be the next one to play all the way through. I'm going to play Fortnite.
Oh God. You're going to have a lot to drain there, bud. Okay, yeah, we will talk to you guys next time.
Alrighty.
Bye.